Hello, everyone. Welcome to our live Q&A on investing. We've got our co-CEO of Aptera, Chris Anthony here. I'm Sarah Hardwick, our Chief Marketing Officer. And over the past week or so, there's been a ton of excitement around our new offering that we've opened up. We have hundreds of questions that we've gone through via social media and email. And we're going to be going through as many of them as we can today. I just wanted to give you guys a quick heads up. We're going to be focusing today on questions that are more around business, investing, our partnerships, and less so on our technology. But don't worry, we do have another webinar coming up soon with our engineering team. So we'll make sure you get all those technical questions answered as well. So feel free to, we'll be monitoring the chat, we'll be monitoring the Q&A, we'll be going through quite a few questions, but I think to start off, just, shout out your name and where you're from. I think it would be great for you guys to see who's participating on the call today. We're grateful. We have, I know, some ambassadors, we have current investors, of whom we're extremely grateful to have your support. And then we also have a lot of investors who are potentially going to be coming on board with us in the future as shareholders. So we'll start off today. We'll dive right in with our first question. And I think that's just to ask Chris to give us a bit of a history. So can you tell us a bit of the history of Aptera's fundraising efforts?
Sure. Thanks and welcome everyone. Oh, how we've grown to have an impromptu investor seminar and have 300 people that are able to log in. So it's amazing the amount of support we've gotten in general since we launched the company and launched the product earlier this year. So it's just humbling to see how everything's come together. When we started to reconceive Aptera and we were trying to figure out how to raise money for the Aptera efforts, there was a bunch of fundraising possibilities in front of us. Obviously, you can always go out and chase private money, but an amazing new tool has become available in the last 4 or 5 years called crowdfunding. And anybody with a little money in their pocket and a desire to support a great idea can jump in and invest in amazing companies early. And we thought that that would be an amazing way to get people really involved in Aptera early on. If you invest in Aptera, now you've got skin in the game. And you're out, you're talking to people about Aptera, you're following our progress, you're eagerly awaiting the product offerings. I think it's just an amazing way to get people really involved in our Aptera story and in general, making the world a more efficient place, starting with transportation. So we said crowdfunding, great, let's do that. So we started with our initial crowdfunding through a platform called Refunder. And we started that at roughly 40 cents a share. And then closed that relatively quickly. And we were able to deploy that capital and obviously start designing and building these first alpha prototypes that you see behind me. So we raised our valuation with WeFunder and did another round and closed that successfully at 80 cents a share. And amazingly, have several thousand investors through that effort, and then decided to open our own platform to do the investing, because when the numbers get really large like that, I think people like to go directly to the company and be able to ask us questions directly and see the information from the source without having to browse through 100 other companies or deals. So we started our Reg A Plus recently, just a couple months ago, and we did that at $3.80 a share. But there has been lots of questions from people about okay, you went from 80 cents a share to $3.80 a share. Why? When did it happen? How does that valuation evolve? Well, really, we had to start the paperwork with the SEC for that round back in January, February. We didn't have that impressive pre-order list yet, not the 11,000 that we have today, but we were rolling and had momentum. So we had to choose a valuation at that time based on the company's condition. Unfortunately, it took 4+ months to actually get that offering approved by the SEC and launch that campaign. So we did launch that campaign a few months ago, and it was at a valuation that by the time we launched, we felt was way too low for where we were. But we wanted to raise a bit of capital because we had a need to deploy it quickly. So we said, let's just raise $10 million through this first round. If we can just raise 10 million over a couple months, that would be great. And it happened way quicker than we thought. In just a couple days, we had 6 million committed, and we had almost 4 million privately committed outside of that round. So we said we need to turn off this public round. We don't want to make people angry. So we'll give them a couple days notice, but we just need to end this round at a very low valuation as quickly as we can. So we did that, and by the time we sent out the notification and closed that round, we'd raised another $10 million. So we raised over 16 million through that public offering, and then raised another 3.625 privately. So together, that's almost 20 million and double our goal for that investment round. Then we had to, come back and hopefully properly gauge our valuation, and we've made, amazing progress on all fronts, including progressing the design and getting very close to some strategic deals that will enable production, and obviously having over 400 million in product ordered, I think makes our valuation considerably higher than it was the last round. Obviously positioned against other companies in this exciting marketplace called electric vehicles. We're still in a very unique position early on to see extraordinary growth. But we launched this crowdfunding campaign at $8.80 a share. And obviously with the aspiration to raise enough money to get the Aptera into full-scale manufacture in the next 12 months. And then we aspire to become a public company in the next 12 to 18 months. And there's many mechanisms to do that, including direct listing, traditional IPO, as you have heard it called, or through some acquisition mechanism that seems to be readily available these days. So that's kind of our history and our story. And, to be honest, it's just exciting and humbling that things have happened so quick. And, I've got several companies under my belt, and it's startups are perpetual fundraising, but everybody is just so excited about Aptera and the possibilities. It's just amazing to see thousands of investors on our side now and out telling our story, and over 10,000 people with Apteras on order, patiently waiting to receive their vehicles. So it's all come together, very well, beyond my wildest expectations. So I wanted to get information out to you guys. We have been reading lots and lots of questions that we get, and it's just so hard. I know people don't want to read a laundry list of answers on a web page, or sift through countless social media posts to try to find the answer they're looking for. Hopefully this gives people an opportunity to listen to this seminar in the background of other work they're doing, and get lots of questions answered at one time. So it's great to be able to present to you and answer a lot of the questions that Sarah and her team are receiving about where we're at in fundraising and where we're at as a company and what do we aspire to do in the future. So I'll let Sarah start asking questions, and then if you have more questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. But I know Sarah has gotten several hundred questions over the last day alone, so it's been a mighty effort for her and her team to sift and find commonalities. We had 20 questions on this, we had 10 questions on this, so we'll just plow through questions like that, and then at the end maybe open it up a little more to people.
That sounds great. Thanks, Chris. I think that's a really great overview. The next question we have, or one of the main questions, is what is the total goal for us? How much are we planning to raise during this round?
We hope to raise around $30 million this round. The problem is that what the public sees versus what we're doing with private investors is a bit murky. We just opened this round. We have almost a couple $1 million committed already and several hundred investors. So we want to keep this open for a while, but we're also talking with several strategic and private investors. The last round we had a fund and several private individuals invest in that round, in addition to the crowdfunding Reg A Plus. Sorry, we have jet traffic overhead, so get a bit of noise. But because we're working with strategics that could come up with an investment idea at any moment, we hope to raise 30, but we don't know what that means for how much we'll be able to offer publicly. If somebody comes to us tomorrow and says, we love Aptera, we're a strategic supplier here, we want to invest $10 million in you, or whatever that number is, that would just decrease how much we want to offer the public. So it could be a balance between our private fundraising efforts and our public fundraising efforts. The last round, as I said, we closed 3.625 million privately, and we thought we were at 10 million, so we could shut off the round, but then ended up closing close to 20 million in total, 16.3 million from the crowdfunding Reg A Plus, and 3.625 privately. And the same thing happened with our early investments. The WeFunder part of our raise, we raised 3.5 million through WeFunder, and we raised 4.5 million privately outside of WeFunder. So when we talk about our goals for what we want to get to, we're talking about the total pot of funds that we can collect through our investment efforts.
Thank you. Could you share with us what is the current pre-money valuation of the company for investors who are looking to invest right now?
Sure. Currently, to give you the progression, our first WeFunder round was a maximum valuation cap of 20 million, and then it was 40 million. And then the last round at $3.80 was 200 million. And now the current round at $8.80 is roughly 500 million. All those numbers are rough, but yes, that's the progression.
Okay, great. Maybe a little bit more on a lot of questions from our fans. What are we planning on utilizing these funds for? What are the key milestones that we envision between now and when we bring Aptera to production that we'll be leveraging these funds for?
A great question. We we are going to deploy capital in many ways. But we just hired a gentleman named Pablo Ucar. We just put out a press release this morning, so you can find out information on the website about him. But he's an amazing individual. He's coming in as vice president of manufacturing and supply chain. He comes in with experience from Tesla and SpaceX. And is here to build our new manufacturing facility in concert with Monroe. We got to get a big old building for that, and unfortunately, none of the real estate people, at least in California, like working with startups. They all want to work with big established companies that have lots of money in the bank and consistent revenue, and it's been a struggle for us to get into buildings. Basically, they're just going to make us pay up front to get into any sizable building. So we have to pay to get into a manufacturing facility. Then we have to start ramping according to Monroe's planning on how we need to capitalize that facility, and then get down to the business of actually manufacturing vehicles, which obviously has a lot of front-loaded cost in terms of building up your inventory and starting those assembly lines very inefficiently in the beginning and then working towards efficiency. But also, the tooling for the parts for those, working with suppliers and having to pay AD&T and non-recurrent engineering fees, and of course building our development vehicles, which enables our learning and validation, like the ones we have back here. The alpha vehicles are soon to be displaced by the beta vehicles. We just started the mills up to cut the body tooling for that last week, so hopefully here in another 4 weeks we'll have some solid molds from those efforts, and then we'll be able to start building parts and putting those beta vehicles together. So it's an exciting time, but it all takes money, and we are putting the money to work as soon as we get it.
That's great. Yeah, there were a lot of questions we were seeing around, when will we be in production? So that I think is going to be very helpful for people. Next question, can you comment on participation by institutional, private equity, and family office investors at this stage?
Yeah, we're open to all possibilities. Obviously, the venture capital and more sophisticated capital types, they don't like the crowdfunding efforts because it takes the power out of their hands. To be funded by the public for something that can hopefully have such a positive impact on society it's not the game of, the larger funds and VC types. So we have been talking with a lot of private individuals and funds that are mission driven to make the world a better place, a cleaner place, a more efficient place. Those are right up our alley. And as I said, in the last round, we had a notable fund come in, and it was great to have their support. And we hope to in the future as well. But our main goal, if we had a choice, would be to raise the bulk of our funding from individuals that buy into our vision and support the company along the way. That's why we think this crowdfunding is such an amazing tool. So hopefully we can have a good balance of get everybody in that wants to invest in Aptera early, along with some, bigger institutional money that can help us, along the way.
Thank you. This question is, I think, a little more basic. Can you elaborate on the investment process? So, the steps, the timing. We're using a portal, a special portal. Could you just elaborate? How does someone who has not invested yet go through the process of investing?
Yeah, the process is a good bit different than buying stock through your Robinhood app or on a stock exchange. You're buying shares of our company through a portal, which has been approved by the SEC for this offering. And you get to that portal through our website, and you basically fill out your investor information, which can be a lot of information because this is an SEC compliant round. You have to go through anti-money laundering and know your customer checks. And those checks just take a lot of information. So it feels, kind of, like you're giving a lot of information, and it's kind of prying, but it's really just so the SEC can check you for anti-money laundering and know your customer checks, because we don't want, any kind of nefarious investing activity, obviously, in this round. So you enter your information and then you submit your funds. And once those funds clear, they go to an escrow company, and then our broker dealer has to clear your investment contract. They basically have to prove, okay, they've passed all the SEC checks, their money's cleared, Aptera has issued them a contract for their shares. Now you can go ahead and issue those shares. Sometimes that process takes a couple of weeks. Our last round we opened up, it went so quick, in just a week. We raised over $16 million, which meant 3,700 investors went through that process, and they all had questions, and some of them had problems with their documents, and it just takes time to sort through all that. So for some people, it took over a month to go through that whole process. But if you're investing with a credit card, it happens pretty quick, 1 or 2 weeks. If you invest with a wire or something else, or if you're investing through an IRA or an entity, sometimes those checks take longer and they have to send you special paperwork. So that can take longer. I'd expect up to a month. But after you clear that process and the broker dealer says it's okay, then you own shares in Aptera. And those shares will sit there until, hopefully one day we have a liquidity event, or we go public, and then we'll register those shares with a transfer agent, and you can contact that transfer agent to then put it into your TD Ameritrade or Schwab or whatever account to trade on those shares in the future.
Whoops, sorry. Thank you. Another question just related to the process is, what do investors get from their investment? And then we do have some perks available, but we also have investors who have invested in previous rounds who are wondering how that applies to the upcoming perks, such as the 5% discount. So maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Yes, the perks that we currently have is if you invest more than $1,000 in Aptera, which is the minimum investment right now, you get a free $100 pre-order. So we waive the pre-order reservation fee for you. So it's like getting a 10% discount on your investment in Aptera, which we think is great. If you invest over $10,000, then we also give you a 5% discount on any Aptera vehicle you purchase in the future. So we'll note your Aptera account on aptera.us, and you'll be able to log in. It's not done yet. Sarah's still working with our web designers on the back end to support all this, but eventually your account will be noted and you'll be able to see, okay, I'm going to get a 5% discount on my purchase price in the future. And, I'm an investor. We're trying to note everybody's account with that because it's amazing how many people are supporting us. So.
That's great, thanks. And I can answer one question here. We have someone who's already pre-ordered Aptera prior to investing and just wondering if we can use that coupon towards the final price of the vehicle. And Chris, is that, do you have the answer to that? I believe it is yes, but we don't have a way to track it, right, yet?
Yeah, if you invested previously and your total comes up to more than 10,000 and you want that discount on a vehicle, that's fine. If you invested $2,000 in the past and invest $8,000 today, then just email us. There's no way for us to cross-reference those databases, at least not easily. Same thing with the coupon. If you invest today and need a coupon code for your second Aptera, then we're happy to do that too.
Thanks. Are there any Class A voting shares available? Or if not, is there a way to convert my Class B to Class A shares in the future?
So the plan currently is for the company to go public in the next 12 to 18 months and to have the Class B stock be what is traded. So it would actually be the other way around. Our Class A stockholders would convert into Class B to get liquidity out of their shares. So the reason we're doing this Reg A Plus and this crowdfunding offering with Class B is because that's what we expect to be liquid in the future. So it's a lot easier process if we have you as Class B and then your shares are just liquid.
Thank you. Next question related to going public. Are you leaning towards an IPO or a SPAC, and why?
That's a great question. We don't really have any favorites. There are lots of mechanisms to becoming a public company nowadays. Unique mechanisms such as SPACs have some intrinsic advantages. They also have some intrinsic negatives. Same thing with direct listing, like an S1 filing to directly go public. So we don't have any favorites. We're open to all options. We are actively exploring both options and having conversations with companies about this process, which really needs to start in the next 6 months to be able to close something, into 2022. The public markets give us access to liquidity for future fundraising, or raising debt, or being a public company gives you a lot of flexibility that you don't have as a private company. So that is what we aspire to be in the next 12 to 18 months. And we think we've got great progress and great momentum so far. And all the people that we talk to think so as well. So it's really just a planning exercise to see what is the best fit for us and what facilitates us getting into production as quick as possible and then supporting our customers down the road. So that's really our main focus.
Thank you. So another question, until the stock goes public, is there any way that the shares appreciate, or what is the most likely way that we'll monetize the shares we own?
That's a good question. You would see that the offering price has increased from 380 to 880 now. But until you have a liquidity event and you're able to trade on the value of those shares, it is a speculative deal. We hope to be a publicly listed company in the next 12 to 18 months, and then you'll be able to just trade these shares on a stock exchange, and it's very easy to find the market value and get monetary incentive for trading those shares. But the only way to track that right now is to see what other people are paying for the shares. And, the people that bought in originally on WeFunder at 44 cents a share, 44 cents to 880 a share, that sounds like a dream. But, as we progress the business model and as we, progress into production, we obviously feel we'll be much better aligned with the valuations we see in a lot of other exciting companies in the electric vehicle space. And all those are obviously well beyond where we're at now. So we're excited for the future and excited to have people be able to participate early. It it would have been great to buy into to Tesla or Google or any other tech company that you've been fascinated by over the years early on before their IPO debut, and you had to go to the NASDAQ or your stockbroker to buy that stock. There was just no way 10 years ago for people to participate in amazing companies like this. So we hope this is an opportunity for people to say, I like Aptera, I like their vision, I want to support them, and here's how I can do it, and hopefully make a monetary incentive for doing so.
Great. So you touched on this. We do have a brand new CFO, Janice Sun-Burlingame, who is very talented. And we have a lot of folks out there wondering what her vision is, what her plans are, kind of what her goals are. Maybe you can touch a little bit on that as it relates to our investing specifically.
Janice is great. She's an amazing CFO, and she has been since we hired her. She has over a dozen companies that she's worked with through the IPO process. She's on the board of a SPAC. She's done a couple SPACs herself. So she's very well educated in how we take the company from where we're at now to becoming a public entity in the next 12 to 18 months. Her main mission is to increase our valuation. So that's why we brought her on, structure a deal that can help facilitate us getting into production and supporting our customers in the future. So yeah, I think it's amazing to have her on board and have her on board early in the company's evolution, so we can really make proper planning. She's also been working with Pablo we just signed a contract this morning on an ERP system, which is amazing. Something that Monroe and Associates told us we should invest in early on, so we don't have a product that we want to put into production and then don't have the proper tools to track production efficiency and cost of product and all those fun things when you get into manufacturing. But it's great to have enormous talents like Janice and Pablo on board now to push forward.
Thank you. This is a question that was just posed live in the chat here as a follow-up to your statement that we're planning on going public in 12 to 18 months. So how many more funding rounds do you expect between now and then?
That is a great question. We can't speculate really, but my gut feeling is, this round will get us enough funding to get into production. But there are reasons where we might want to raise funds between now and when we desire to be a public entity. I really don't know what those are, but I imagine that there are strategic opportunities for us to vertically integrate or to diversify our product portfolio. So obviously, if some part on the vehicle is costing us $500 and we wished it cost $200, there's ways to invest in vertically integrating so we can bring the cost of those parts of the vehicle down. And with additional capital, we can do that. So we could decide in the near future that, gosh, it would be great to invest $5 or $10 million in X, and then we'd have to execute on, funding X. So.
Thank you. Okay, one area of a lot of questions and comments and debate, there have been some lively debates amongst our fans and investors, is relating to cryptocurrency. So in this new round, we did offer cryptocurrency as a method of payment for investors. And so can you elaborate a little bit on why that decision was made as far as from your perspective?
Yeah, as a company, we aspire to give people tools to make their transportation more efficient. We want the Aptera to be a generational vehicle, and we want it to be something that can impact your daily lives. We support the right to repair and improve. So we support your ability to work on your Aptera in the way you want to work on your Aptera, anytime you want to work on the Aptera. In terms of funding mechanisms to purchase your Aptera or to invest in Aptera, we also feel strongly in the right for consumers to choose how they do that. And monetary and economic tools like cryptocurrency is one ways that we feel that consumers can have more tools in their toolbox to execute the kind of transactions that they want. We realize that today, many cryptocurrencies take a lot of energy and aren't so good for the environment, but we do believe in the future of cryptocurrencies in general, and that one day the per transaction energy cost for cryptocurrency transfer could be far less than the cost of a credit card transaction. So we believe in, empowering people with those kinds of economic tools, and we hope to support that effort. And by accepting cryptocurrency now, we feel we're doing that.
Thank you. Do you want to elaborate on the forms of cryptocurrency that we are currently accepting?
Yeah, currently for investment, we're accepting Bitcoin and Ethereum. Through the website, we should have very soon, Sarah can chime in, the ability to take Dogecoin as well. Obviously we're monitoring what coins, can be most useful. We like Dogecoin. We think, it has an amazing future ahead of it, but Bitcoin is the mainstay and a lot of people use Ethereum. So we want to have broad support for everything and kind of evolve with these cryptocurrencies as they grow.
Thank you. I'm going to go back just a little bit because I'm seeing a lot of questions, and maybe we can just elaborate quickly. We have a lot of Refunder investors who are on this call and are now investing in the new round. And I know that as some of you may know, and Chris can talk about, the Refunder process was a little bit bumpier than we would have wanted to hope for our investors. So we do have some questions just around what is the, when is that going to be closed out? When will investors, know one way or the other? It sounds like there's still some back and forth. Do we have any answers? Is there anything we can do besides directing them to Refunder in your perspective?
Yes, humbled by your support. Thanks to all the Refunder investors that are on this call, and all the investors in general. The Refunder round was a round of investment into a safe contract, a simple agreement for future equity. And that contract basically gives you the right to shares in the future at a certain valuation. Just like the last round where we took on 3,700 investors in a week, and our portal and our communications team, just exploded on, we can't handle this. This is too many investors. Unfortunately, it was the same with Refunder prior to that, in that it was just too many investors for them to handle. It was, by far the most explosive round of the last couple of weeks there. So it took Refunder. They are still sorting out those last Refunder investments from early this year. So hopefully that is situated soon. But if you are a Refunder investor with questions, email hello@refunder.com, and hopefully they can assist you with a transaction, and get back to our team if it's not handled satisfactorily.
Thank you. We really appreciate your patience for all of you who have gone through some challenges. We are here for you to help you as much as we possibly can, and we're grateful for your support. So thank you very much. Next question. Oh boy, we have so many questions here. Trying to get through all of them. Maybe just touching on, so we're kind of some questions moving a little bit more into production, and some more industry kind of questions related to, in this specific case, and there's some chat that's happening here, is, moving into, you mentioned that we'll be looking in California. Is there a reason why we're not looking to expand into other states and areas, or what is the plan for expansion for Aptera moving forward beyond this first facility that we've been discussing on this call?
Yeah, all of our engineers are here in San Diego now. We got our first real funding in March of last year, just when COVID was starting to really kick up. So the evolution of Aptera is a bit of an odd one, in that usually you have a great idea, you get a building, you fill the building full of people to execute on the idea. But with COVID, that just wasn't possible. So our engineering resources are now much more far strong than if COVID hasn't happened. We've got people all over the world working on, Aptera's efforts. Over 120 last time I looked at the org chart for the team, but 120 contributors from all over the world, in New Zealand, in the UK, and India, and Canada, and all over the US. It's amazing to have such talented people drawn to the project. and to be able to support it. But when it comes to production, we feel that the engineers that are in this shop now need to be close to production to see how the product evolves and how to make it better over time, and maybe some of the engineering things that work really well or don't work really well in a production setting. So we would like to keep the production facility initially very close to the engineering team. As we grow, we don't want to have a huge monolithic plant here in San Diego, 1 million square feet under roof type thing. We would much rather build 10 100,000 square foot factories than 1 million square foot factories. That gets our product closer to the people that are purchasing and need service on these products. And it helps us become part of the local community. And it also helps us take advantage of state incentives that are available for moving to these other states. So while initially we want to keep production close to home in San Diego, we hope to make kind of the dream model factory here be something that we can replicate all over the world. I'm thinking Southern California, Northern California, Texas, Georgia, Virginia, the UK, Norway, Australia. Then we have a great global footprint that can support the bulk of our customer base right now.
Thank you. That's great. One kind of higher level, I guess, industry question that's coming in a couple different ways is just looking at how crowded the EV space overall is becoming. Clearly, there's a lot of established companies launching EVs. The landscape is getting crowded. Are we confident that we can ship Aptera in time? And how will we not allow Aptera to be overwhelmed in such a crowded market? How will we stand out against some of our more well-established competitors?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Steve and I are EV fans. It's exciting to see the world of electric vehicles grow and slowly displace internal combustion engines. As Steve being an engineer and me being being very inquisitive, it's offensive to me that the petroleum that you put into an internal combustion engine doesn't get fully turned into the power that spins your wheels. You only get 25 to 27% of the energy out of that fuel that you use. The rest is wasted in heat and just blown by the motor in general. So, from an engineering perspective, we just love that there's so much going on in electric vehicles today. But we are a very different company from how we approach being in that electric vehicle space. Our ethos is start with the equation of efficiency. What is it that uses so much energy to go from point A to point B in an internal combustion engine car? Well, the first thing is, 60% of your fuel is wasted just for aerodynamic reasons. So make it very aerodynamic and you instantly get 60% better fuel economy. Oh, now internal combustion engines are horrible at converting their fuel source into actual power to the road. Push electrons. Now you've got an electric powertrain. Instantly get much greater efficiency right there. Then you got to decrease rolling resistance. So you got to make the vehicle lightweight. So what you end up with when you solve that equation is something that looks like this, something that's very aerodynamic and lightweight and has a super efficient powertrain. We don't think that anybody else in the electric vehicle industry is trying to solve the equation for efficiency. They're trying to solve the equation for other purposes, which is great. We love to see camping capable electric vehicles. We love to see electric trucks that can power work sites for 2 days. We love to see really comfortable electric vehicles so people can, ride around in style. We love seeing 0 to 60 in 1.9 seconds, which is just nuts. So we love seeing all the other attributes that are being brought forth in the electric vehicle industry, but that's not us. We're designing a vehicle for efficiency. We didn't start with a marketing group. We didn't start with the segment that we were trying to hit. We started with the equation for efficiency. We built this, crossed our fingers, and hoped that people would like what we're doing and would support the project. And now we have over 11,000 people that have orders for our product and thousands of investors, including people on this call today, that have put their real dollars into Aptera's work. And we think that proves that we're on the right path, that people like our vision of efficiency for electric vehicles. And even though we're not anything like anybody else in the industry, that it's a worthwhile project and something that can be healthy and profitable and do good in the world in the coming decades. So it's hard to compare us against anybody else because I just don't think anybody else is driving to the same conclusion that we're driving to, which is transportation needs to be more efficient, and we're going to make that transportation happen.
That was awesome. Thank you. That was such a great answer. I think I can feel the energy just looking at the chat and hearing everyone. I think honestly, that's all. That's why I'm here. That's why we're all here, is that vision and that belief. That's really exciting. Thank you. One more question. Not one more question. We have several more questions. Will prospective buyers be able to qualify for the federal tax credit for EVs?
Exciting things are happening on the front of electric vehicle tax credits, let me tell you. You'll have to do your own research because, we have a lobbyist group that is doing a lot of inside things for us, and we've been amazed with their support. But what is coming down the pipe to support electric vehicles will be industry shaping for sure. To get a $6,500 tax credit, tax incentive from the federal government, and then have state incentives on top of that to bring $25,900 solar powered electric vehicle to the market, and then have it cost less than $20,000 to the end consumer is just an amazing proposition. We think it'll do so many amazing things to propel electric vehicles even further, and hopefully propel solar powered electric vehicles even more.
Thank you. We have lots of questions related to, I think partnerships is a good way to categorize them, as well as supercharger networks and potential partnerships. So maybe can we talk a little bit about some of our key partners? I've seen several comments in this chat so far around Sandy Monroe. How is he helping us? How is he helping us to meet our goals? What other key partners are we currently working with, and do we aspire to work with in the future?
Specifically Sandy Monroe and Monroe and Associates. They've done amazing work for us over the last year. They're one of the first contacts we made when we started getting really serious about the Aptera, and to have a vision for your product from the beginning to make it very manufacturable, I think is rare. And it's certainly the feedback that we've gotten from them. Most people have an inspiring idea or a vehicle concept, and they build that vehicle or product, and they get to the end and they go, okay, this looks like an amazing thing. Now, how do I build 10,000 of them a year? And then you have to figure out how to modify your design to be more manufacturable. And we're very lucky and humbled to have Sandy's support and Monroe and Associates support from the beginning. So we actually design those manufacturability traits into the vehicle early on. So things like subassembly position, so the operator can get the screw in at the right angle. Things like cut lines on some of the body panels, so it makes it so the vehicle can go down the assembly line and a person can just easily put that panel on, instead of having to have an order of operation where they have to take one part off first or not have that part on to be able to put that panel on. A lot of little things like that have just been great for us to explore early on. And we've got these very, very detailed reports from our efforts with Monroe and Associates. I was going over with Pablo the report from Sandy on our general assembly line, and it's the smallest of the reports at 109 pages. So, it's just incredibly detailed work, and you got to get down to the nitty gritty, and you got to see, what fasteners need to be at what station, and how that operator is going to put that fastener in, and how long it's going to take that operator, because the product can't move to the next station until that operator is done with that station. So that's been just an amazing relationship, and it will pay huge dividends as we head towards manufacturing. Other strategic relationships have been coming together very nicely. COVID has been a pain in our ass because I can't hop on a plane and go visit people and shake their hand and have a personal meeting and look at their factory and go around. So it's made things much more difficult. A lot of the big suppliers, they just don't want to deal with a startup. Supply chain's frustrated enough. They're short on materials, they're short on chips, they're short on a lot of things. So it's made some relationships just implausible for us. But we've made amazing progress on vendors that are going to be crucial for us to get into production. Mr. Fambro here. That are crucial for us to get into production and have the parts with the reliability and the overall robustness that we're looking for production.
Thank you. Hi, Steve. Everyone's saying hi to Steve in the chat. Welcome. Our other co-CEO, Steve Fambro, a critical part of our dynamic duo that you see here, our founders. A follow-up question to that, Chris, specific to the chip shortage. Has that been a problem so far? I know you mentioned it as a potential roadblock. Do we see that? We have a lot of people asking if we, just based on recent news, if we see that as a barrier in any way, significant barrier.
It's been a problem. Also, material shortage. We've been progressing mightily on our battery pack design and our BMS design, but weeks went by where we couldn't get our circuit boards made for that battery management system because the vendor couldn't get the metal to properly coat the boards. Same thing with chips. We've got chips that we have designed into the production version of the Aptera, and we're having to order those chips in bulk now just to have the hope of receiving those chips in about a year. When we really need them for large scale manufacture, or you have to buy them in very small quantities, 10 chips at a time, that sort of thing. So it's COVID has been a pain in our ass. We would much rather it go away. So hopefully it will be soon, and fingers crossed another couple months. My kids just had their first day of school today, so we were very happy to see them move into hopefully a post-pandemic phase of their lives.
Thank you so much. Any other partners you want to touch on to wrap up that discussion? I know Roush is a key partner. We have Alafe. We have quite a few partners. People are.
Yeah, Roush has been doing amazing work. Hopefully, we'll be able to share a bit about their work soon. But they just wrapped up our door design as a subassembly. So they completely had taken over the ceiling, the latching, the hinging, the door structure, the window mech. I think it, in the collaboration with our team, just worked out beautifully. We just went through all their FEA analysis, for FMVSS safety compliance. The door performs amazingly. It's also very robust, helped by how lightweight it is. But things like door slam and torsional rigidity and, being able to have this door be something, that lasts for hundreds and hundreds of thousands of cycles has been a great fit for Roush. They've also been helping us with the suspension. So we're still working through the rear suspension. We finished the front suspension about a month ago. And now we're focused on the rear trailing arm suspension. And, our platform is unique, but, wide wheel track and wheelbase and, great CG and efforts by Roush to make the vehicle perform well better than the Alphas here. So we can't wait to build up these first beta vehicles and be able to drive them around and give you guys feedback on how well the design's progressed with Roush and other partners.
Thank you. A couple questions just on global expansion plans. I know that we have, we aim to bring Aptera everywhere worldwide. There have been some challenges or some concerns specifically for Europe. Do you want to touch on that in any way?
Yeah, we hope to have Aptera available throughout the world as soon as possible. Obviously, there's a homologation, testing, certification issues, in different countries, but we're finding that most have exemptions for a low number of vehicles. The bulk of our orders are from North America, so only a small percentage so far are from Europe and other countries. But we think for most places, there's exemptions for less than, say, 1,500 or 1,000 vehicles a year to get these vehicles into those markets. And in totality, I think that works very well for our distribution plans to be able to get people in Europe and other parts of the world their vehicles very soon. Norway has a lot of orders. France has a lot of orders. Germany has a lot of orders. So it'll be great to see, our Aptera on the streets of the world soon.
Speaking of seeing Aptera on the street soon, are there any ideas or thoughts that you have around which vehicles will be rolled out first? We have our Paradigm editions, but people are kind of wondering what's going to be out first, like what the actual rollout plans are going to be, if we've determined that yet.
The current rollout plan is for the 40 kilowatt hour version of the Aptera to come first, and then to be able to roll out the smaller pack, the 25 kilowatt hour pack, then the 60 kilowatt hour pack, and the 100 kilowatt hour pack. I will advise that as we continue our progression in engineering, those numbers will change. Because the way we're designing the packs, the way whatever our cell supplier supplies us the cells, and we configure them, inevitably we will have a pack that's not exactly 40 kilowatt hours. Maybe it's 42 or maybe it's 38, but we hope to let everyone know as soon as we have more details on those packs and how they're coming together. But the idea was to get good feedback on these orders of what kind of range people really wanted, and then design to that range the best we can. So that's our goal, and we'll still have those range options, but it'll be fuzzy on where exactly it hits. So don't expect exactly a 600-mile range version, maybe a 602, 612.
Thank you. That's great. I think this is another one that came in during the course of the session. It's related back specifically more to investing. The question is around audited financials. Is that something that we'll be producing quarterly or just on an annual basis for our shareholders?
Yeah, to do a Reg A plus Tier 2 offering like we're currently doing, the SEC requires us to become a semi-public company, which means we have to report twice a year. So we have to do mid-year financials and end-of-year financials. Our financials were just audited for the offering. So you can look them up through the SEC website or through links on the offering circular. It's actually in the offering circular, and the offering is our audited financials. In the future, it's just reviewed financials. So there's a distinct difference between audited financials and reviewed financials by accounting scrutiny. But that's the expectation, is we have to have at least reviewed financials twice a year. And what we've done in the past, we're audited. So you can find those through our offering circular. Obviously, as we press to become a public company, that compliance and reporting becomes more standardized, like you would see from normal companies where they report quarterly. So
thank you. Another investing specific question that came up. We talked a lot about IPOs, but what happens if Aptera is bought by another company?
If Aptera gets bought by another company, the safes automatically convert into equity. And as Class B shareholders, you would be paid out proportionally to the purchase price, in accordance. Steve and I do not aspire to be acquired. I don't think that's in our future. You never know what's going to happen. But we're looking for strategic partners currently to help make the world a more efficient place. I don't think that Steve or I would ever be comfortable handing that vision to someone else or another company, no matter how large or how powerful, because if they wanted to do that, if they wanted to make transportation more efficient, they could have focused on it any number of years ago. So, we feel that we're focused on, efficiency in transportation, and we want to make that a reality. We want to get as many Aptera on the road as possible in the coming years. So that's what we're working towards.
Thank you. A couple more production related questions. We have about 6 minutes left, so I'm just going to keep going until we reach our time limit here. But this is related to the idea of Aptera being hand produced versus mass produced. So how vertically integrated do we plan to be? So how many of our parts are we envisioning are made in-house versus, we have talked about 3D printing in other ways. Any insights as far as our manufacturing process on that vertical integration question?
Sure. Monroe and Associates is advising us on these matters. We hope to have many things in our manufacturing process automated. but we also realize the value of having humans do the work. Our vehicle's composite structure is made of just a few parts, and they're all human positionable. So none of them are heavier than two people could very easily pick up and position in a jig to bond together. Same thing with our sub-assemblies. Nothing is so heavy or cumbersome where people couldn't move it around. So our manufacturing plant will be very different than you're used to seeing other car or automobile manufacturing plants on TV or in videos, where they have these big positioning robots and these 5-axis guys that can lift 600 pounds. And they're welding steel or aluminum assemblies together as they go down the line. We don't have any of that stuff. There's no welds needed on the Aptera body. It's all bonded. So I think our manufacturing facility will look very different, but we're not looking to over automate things. We want everything to be able to be done by a human in the beginning. And then once we find the perfect process with that human, then it's easier to automate with robotics. And we can justify the expense per labor reduction at that point.
That makes sense. Great. We're getting quite a few questions, and this could maybe be a good question to wrap up with. Beyond our endeavors to get our first 3-wheel vehicle out to the world as soon as possible, what else is ahead for Aptera? Maybe can you share a bit of your vision around creating a fleet of solar electric vehicles? We've got lots of requests on this chat for 4-wheel and flying Jetsons cars and all sorts of things. So maybe can you elaborate a bit on what is Aptera's vision for the future beyond our first Aptera? What does the path look like for us going forward as a company overall?
Yeah, we see solar transportation as a great base for almost any vertical in transportation. So whether it's a bigger 5-passenger Aptera that has more storage and more capability with a 4th wheel, whether it's package delivery, whether it's hauling big items like semi trucks do. We think that solar electric vehicles could be the way for a lot of their verticals, and that's really the idea behind getting enough funding to get this first vehicle platform into production, but then talking about being a public entity in the next 12 to 18 months so we can raise money to fund that future diversification of our product portfolio and obviously vertical integration to decrease the cost of building that product portfolio.
That's great. I think that is about it. Is there anything else, Chris, that you want to add before we wrap up around the investment round? We've had some really thoughtful questions, some really detailed questions. Obviously, we have a lot of reservation holders here, ambassadors. We have a lot of people who are really, care a lot. So anything else you want to add before we wrap up here?
No, it's just terribly exciting to have so much support coming our way. We're so humbled to have so many investors supporting the vision, so many people with pre-orders on the Aptera. We're working as hard as we can, early mornings, late hours, to make this vision a reality. And we think it'll be an amazing time for us and hopefully the people that are following us over the next year to see this vehicle become a production vehicle and then start to hit the streets. So thanks everybody for their support. Thanks for your continued support. One of the best things you can do for us is to share our story with a friend, talk about solar transportation, solar powered electric vehicles, and how they can positively impact the planet. And I think, we'll continue to grow our base of support and push towards production.
Great, thank you. A couple of just helpful reminders for everyone who's on here. Obviously, we have a lot of questions. Some of them are technical questions. You might be having trouble logging into your portal, for example, or wondering about the status of your investment. So I wanted to make sure you all have the correct resources when you need them. So if you have investing related questions, the best way is to email invest@aptera.us. And there we have a dedicated support team. We have 3+ people who are constantly monitoring and making sure that the process is going as smoothly as possible. They're working directly with the SEC and our partners to make sure that everything is being uploaded and accepted properly. So that is the absolute best place for your investment related questions to be answered. That being said, we also are standing by here at Aptera. You can reach our customer success manager and our team at info@aptera.us. And all of those product related questions, any other account related questions related to your Aptera reservation or anything like that can be addressed to us at the info email. And I see there's just so many people who are just so pumped about Aptera. If you have any aspiration or desire to be an ambassador, we are really growing our ambassador program. There really are no requirements except for that you have to be passionate about our company, and you can email ambassador@aptera.us. We'll send you over an application form and tell you a little bit more about what that role entails. But we have ambassadors all around the world showing their support. I've seen lots of questions and they're so helpful. You'll probably have some of your questions answered by them. So if you have any aspirations to becoming an Aptera ambassador, we would love to have you. I think that's it. So 2 o'clock on the dot, we'll be signing off here at Aptera headquarters, and thank you all so much for your time, and we look forward to having another chat with you soon. Stay tuned for another webinar coming up that will be more engineering focused up ahead. Thank you all. Enjoy your day.
Thank you so much. Have a good one.